everybody. Thanks for joining us again. This is Gene from Palmetto Design Theory, and I am joined with Rhett DeMille from Palmetto Soft. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about SEO and online marketing, and what that relates to in terms of small businesses and entrepreneurs that are creating websites, and what we do and our advice on everything in between that. All right. So Rhett, I want to thank you for coming in today. I really appreciate this, man. A little bit of thunder out there.
Thank you.
But I appreciate you coming in. I think that, I know you do. I know we do in terms of a design agency. We get questions all the time, about SEO and whether or not it's worth it, how it works, how effective is it, and all this type of stuff. So I just wanted to, kind of finally bring you in. Let's just have this conversation,
Sure.
have it recorded so we can kind of, get that out to our audience, and that way they can kind of get these common questions and get an understanding of how this works.
Sure, Gene. I think that web design and SEO are two in the same, one and the same, two in the same. They're you can't have one without the other.
Right, I agree.
And for me, my background is web design. Years ago, I had the pleasure of building over 500 websites with a good-sized development team, and that actually forms a basis of what we do now.
Okay.
When we optimize websites, we pull from our web design background because so much of that technical part is related to it.
Right.
So the two are very much related. So I think that you really have to have both going at the same time.
I agree. I totally agree with that. Now, before we really get into it, just tell everybody a little bit about you and about what Palmetto Soft is and your role in that.
Sure. We are a digital marketing company, and we primarily promote business and organizational websites online by driving qualified and ever-increasing traffic to those websites. We also work on making the websites better as far as the conversion of customers, so that we're always trying to bring not only better customers and more customers, but we want to convert them into sales.
Right.
So there's a constant, basically, analysis going on within the world of SEO for our customers. We're always looking at things, trying to make things better, and reporting data to our customers.
Okay. Now, reporting data is important because I think that when you talk about SEO, I know that there's some kind of investment in there, just like there's an investment with building a website, right? But getting back that data, I think, is pretty important. So it's good that you offer that, to your clients, because they can kind of look at that and kind of decide, okay, I see where the progress is going. I see what's working. I see what's moving along. I see my website gaining, things like that. So let's get in and jump in. And one of the bigger things, I think, that when you first start talking about SEO, you start talking about or asking questions about keywords. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about what keywords are, how that relates to pricing, how effective that is in SEO marketing?
Sure. For the most part, the SEO or search engine optimization industry has been basing the pricing off of keywords and the number of keywords. That's been going on for a very long time.
Okay.
It's not absolutely set in stone that it's that way, but there's a lot of companies that do that because it tends to be the easiest way to price a campaign. You have 5, 10, 15 industry-related keywords for X amount of dollars. Basically, each keyword represents an amount of labor per month that needs to be done to have that keyword rank on the first page.
I see.
Okay? And the keywords need to be very relative to the business itself.
Yeah.
And I always like to use an analogy. We want to optimize for what the public is looking for, and not necessarily what we call industry speak.
That's interesting. Okay.
We tend to use words that we're familiar with in our company. And this is my story, my analogy. I say, we sell Gatorade online, but there's a lot of people out there searching for green sports water.
Okay.
Our data tells us that in our research. Well, guess what? We're going to optimize for the word green sports water. We're going to build a whole section on our website about that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to build links and do all kind of off the website activity and promote green sports water. When we bring them to our site, we're also going to show them what Gatorade is.
Okay.
With basically the goal of converting them into a Gatorade sale customer.
Now, you harped on something that I think is synonymous in terms of what we do in terms of web design. Is you want to build a site for your customer experience, for your user experience, not necessarily all in what you think you want to build a website for. It's got to be in what your audience is going to be looking for, how they're going to consume this content that you have or find your products and find you online. So that's interesting that you said that, because it sounds like we do the same thing.
We do, and I think we do a lot of it. Like, for example, I call it hubris. hubris in doing keyword research. I call it industry speak versus public speak.
Okay.
We tend to speak about our products and services and our own businesses in a little bit more finite terms, more technical terms, and a lot of times in words that the public doesn't even know about.
Okay.
And a lot of times we make the assumption that the public does, but they really don't.
Okay.
And that's where keyword research can come into play, and we find out, well, a lot of people out there are looking for my products and services, but they're saying this. That's fine. That doesn't hurt my feelings what you're saying.
Sure.
If I can get you to my site
Yeah.
and make you become a customer,
Sure.
let's bring you in.
Yeah.
Hubris society.
It's almost like educating them on what they think they know they want to what they
Right.
actually do want. What's going to be effective.
And really in marketing, we're trying to build that match. We're trying to get what they're thinking about and searching to our site
Okay.
and show them what we sell.
Okay.
And that is definitely a challenge.
Okay. I understand that. I totally understand that. So, what's a good budget that someone can expect to walk into, maybe at a baseline, and also what would be a good timeline for them to kind of start to see some results?
First of all, that's a great question. First of all, I would say it needs to be a monthly budget. Okay. And around our company charges around $600 a month for a basic package in an industry that is not too competitive.
Sure.
For this conversation, we would use Google since they have a 67% market share.
Okay.
We're able to basically go into the website, do a nice blog post once per month,
Okay.
build inbound links,
Okay.
generate reports, and also serve as a consultant for the client for just a lot of activity both on and off the website to constantly improve it.
Wow.
We also look at their social media accounts and their posting
Okay.
to make sure that is at minimum, doing what it needs to do as far from a social branding standpoint.
Okay. So you're looking at a lot of aspects, not just their website too. Now you mentioned social media, and you also mentioned creating blog posts for them. Now I'm a fan of always generating more, as much content as you possibly can. That's original, right?
Yes.
And having that so that way every time Google comes back to look at your website, there's Google's indexing more relevant or newer content.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just something that was put up there when the site was built, several months ago or a year ago.
Yeah.
But there's something that's happening, hopefully weekly. And I understand, $600. I think it's a good investment coming in the door.
Yeah.
But I also think that there's probably going to be, like I've heard of companies charging anywhere from tens of thousands of dollars a month.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm imagining they're doing what you're saying exponentially. So they're probably creating content on a much more regular basis, both on the website and throughout their social media accounts.
Imagine a company doing videos like we're doing now on YouTube, and they have their own YouTube channel, which is something that we offer.
Okay.
We recommend doing a YouTube video every month as part of our service.
Yeah.
We also do what's called infographic creation. Instead of just building a web page that has 300 or 400 words of content, for example, we can make a graphic, like a visual graphic, that highlights and explains that content, makes it more exciting. Well, guess what that does? Within Google Analytics on your website, let's call it GA, it's measuring user activity.
Absolutely.
When you have infographics, people tend to read them, and they stay on your page longer.
Okay.
When they stay on your page longer, Google sees that, and you rise in the search results.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
So YouTube videos do the same thing. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make really good content and have people stay on the website and the web page a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
We want to have them ultimately share it. We want to have them link to it.
Right.
That's the strongest vote of confidence in the Google algorithm, what we call page rank, is a link to your website.
Okay.
The second highest vote is just somebody basically liking it or sharing it.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that you can do is turn on comments on a page.
Okay.
And have that dialogue going down the page.
Okay.
And the search engine will see that as well, that that back and forth.
It's catching that as well. Okay, so that counts too.
Be careful though. You don't want to integrate Facebook on your web page. That's not going to help you in Google because that's a Google competitor.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
So you can turn
That's
on.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
So you can turn on comments from another type widget.
Yeah.
Or another technology, but I would not recommend using Facebook comments on that page, or you won't get the credit.
Now, see, I'm not a fan of using third-party comment applications on a website. I mean, predominantly, we build all our websites through WordPress, which at the beginning, we learned pretty quick that Google likes WordPress, right?
Yes, it does.
It's a content-rich platform, which is fantastic. But when it comes to comments, I feel like using the native comment feature within WordPress is if not the easiest, if not the best, because you don't necessarily have to sign in with other applications like Twitter or Facebook in order for you to comment. All you need to do is just enter in your email address and your phone. I mean, your email address and your name and your comment, and you're good to go. So that's interesting that having a third party, which is huge, like Facebook, having that on there for comment system isn't beneficial to it.
Google recognizes Facebook, but they are bitter competitors. And so Facebook has a lot of people on it, and it holds a lot of people for a lot of time, and Google knows that. It won't penalize you for it, but it won't give you kudos for it.
All right. Okay.
So what you can do is turn on your own comments, and what that'll do is that banter back and forth on the page, the search engine robots or spiders or indexing programs will literally just not necessarily read it, but they'll see the different usernames and the replies, and what it tells the algorithm is something is going on this page good enough that it's sparked activity, sparked dialogue. And at the end of the day, if we think in terms of the search engine, what they want to do is when somebody does a search, the search engine wants to send that visitor to the best resource for that information. So if it finds a website that has good content that's related to the keyword, it's got maybe a YouTube video on there, some infographics, it's got some dialogue, and it's got a lot of attributes to it. Those websites tend to rank much higher than the ones who don't do it like that, or they cut corners.
That makes sense.
The robot assembly method of doing SEO does not get rankings anymore.
That's good. It's good to hear. That's good to hear. Because a lot of people, want to try to do that because it may sound like the easiest thing to do at first, but it may not be the best. So
there's no magic number of words on a page that you can do.
Really,
and using native writers is very important. For example, if you live in America, it's better to use American writers for your blogging because it makes more sense to the reader. It's more natural. And so those kind of things, the algorithm may not know who wrote it, but it can tell which one's more important.
I see.
And which one's more valuable.
That's smart.
Right. Yep.
All right. Okay. So tell me, what are some misconceptions that clients or prospective clients may have coming into looking for SEO services and online marketing?
A lot of companies call us and say, at the very beginning of the conversation, we've heard that SEO is on its way out the door.
No kidding.
Yeah, and that has to do with the advent of of social media, YouTube videos, and all the ways to generate online traffic. And to a point, they are correct, but SEO is not on its way out. It's just evolving. The internet is getting bigger and more complex, but at the end of the day, people do go to Google to find information. And that is, Google having the 67% market share of all U.S. searches. Whether you're on a mobile device or a laptop or a desktop, that's where they initially go. And they're going to be doing that for a while. So what we do is we try to educate the client and say, we're more of a consultant now in a whole array of services that we need to oversee, including looking at your website from a conversion standpoint, because it needs to have a great message, it needs to be usable, and it needs to look good. That's also part of SEO, and that's what you guys do. So we basically are doing more now. It's just it's not as exact as it used to be. It used to be we would put 800 words on a page, mention the keyword 10 times, stuff the meta tags, and boom, you are number one.
I see.
Those days are gone.
I see.
Now it is more of a semantic-driven, natural, almost like the algorithm for Google, the ranking algorithm, functions more like a brain.
I see.
And it's self-learning.
That's interesting.
They make about 400 updates a year. And we don't know when the updates are going to happen or what's coming. We know pretty much when it happens. And in our community, we talk and make the adjustments in our campaigns. By doing what's called white hat techniques or by the book standards, and never trying to fake out the search engines or do something unethical such as duplicate content, things like that, or building bad links. Whenever an algorithm change does happen, we don't really suffer that much. Our customers don't suffer that much.
I see. Because you've been consistent with staying above board.
Exactly. Nice. You do things right. You write good content. They say content is king. I do believe that. I do believe content is king. I think links are queen.
Yeah,
I think the
and
two
links
go.
are queens. All right.
I think the two
That's
go
a new one.
together. But our strategy or our theory is what the best way to get links is to not necessarily go out there and create it. Let them come to you.
Okay.
If you have the best content and the best videos and you're saying the best things, people are going to point to you and say, "Hey, look over here."
Nice. Right.
And that's what SEO is becoming.
I do.
It's becoming a very quality, very difficult thing to do.
So I have one for you, right?
Yeah.
I have a couple clients, right, that had an idea before me really talking to them about marketing. That once their site was built, they just assumed that everyone would come. So as soon as the site was up there, it was launched and even submitted to Google and submitted to some other search engines, and things like that. They just assumed that traffic was just going to show up. And for me, that's one of our bigger misconceptions is that just because the site is built and it's built well, doesn't mean that people are going to just find it without any type of marketing. There has to be some kind of publicity to say, hey, this website is here, here's these services, here's where we're located, here's what we're doing. And it has to be something that's ongoing also, right? It's not just a one-time thing. Again, where we asked a little bit earlier, we talked about, kind of expect to, budget in have a monthly budget for marketing, expenses. But it shouldn't be just this one-time set, right?
No, it's not. The first thing that we do in the what's called the SEO setup process in the first month of a campaign is we go through the website and check everything to make sure we give it what's called an SEO health check.
Okay.
We make sure that technically it checks out in all the ways that it needs to, that the pages load properly, the HTML is created properly, and all the behind the scenes meta coding and meta tags, and meta keywords and copy represent the keywords that are selected for that campaign.
Okay.
You're right when you say a lot of clients just assume that they're going to show up. What they don't understand is there's been no kind of marketing, thought put into this. Well, who are we targeting?
Right.
And how are we going to do that?
Right.
Well, in order to do that, we have to build a lot of good content. We have to get good links.
Okay.
And those are the ways to begin showing up for search results. It's not, like you said, the saying, if we build it, they will come. That's not true. Okay. It worked in the movie Field of Dreams, but it does not work in
But
in
it's so funny because so many people, not so many people, but there's a good bunch of people that kind of feel that way. They build it, they'll just show up.
They do. And a lot of time, I always say that this sounds a little bit kind of corny, but I say that SEO is like commercial farming. Okay. The first thing that we do, we're doing keyword research, is think about a big field that you clear. We clear the field when we're doing research. When we choose the keywords, each keyword is literally a row of crops. Okay. So one keyword is corn, one keyword is potatoes, one keyword is beans. And we throw those seeds out there, we water it every month, we do blog posts, we build links, and those crops start to come up. I see. The rankings start to occur. Right. The traffic starts to come in. Right. Well, what happens if we just abandon that field? Imagine you would start to see crops dying. Yeah. You would start to see traffic dying. Sure. And that's what SEO is like. Yeah, it's a good analogy. And the reason, and another thing is, there's a misconception that SEO is basically a one-time thing. Yeah. It used to be where you could do it and you'd be up there for a couple of years just making a one-time adjustment to your site. Yeah. But when you have 400 algorithm changes a year, and you've got competitor advancements, and you've got SEO firms out there being hired to compete against you, and content being generated by your competitors, anything that you do has to be an ongoing, basically, push. Okay. It always has to be tweaked. Right. Pages need to be updated. Right. Otherwise, people are going to, going back to Google Analytics, they're going to measure that user activity on your site, and they're going to say, well, this is stale content. Yeah. That's good. That's really good. I think that's a lot of great information just in that segment alone, and that question alone. I think it's fantastic. Now, all right, so we're pretty familiar with the importance of page load speed, with the importance of having a well optimized coding wise website, and how that how Google regards your load time, whether it's too long or too slow, and how they rank or penalize you on that, as well as being responsive, as well as being Google mobile friendly, right? Is there anything else that you can add to that, and why that? Maybe even talk about why that's important. Yes, and as you can imagine, when a page loads fast, that's good for Google because it's a good user experience.
Okay.
It means somebody's not waiting around for something, the old bar we used to see
Yeah.
go like this.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And so, but now I think a good addition to that would be when you're creating your content, try to think in terms of snippets. We don't want to do necessarily 800 words all together.
Mm-hmm.
We can shorten them down to one paragraph and read more.
Okay.
With a nice subheading above it.
Okay.
And really break our content up into chunks, and
Okay.
that gives the reader the ability to see large amounts of content from an overview perspective.
Okay.
And it will make your page way much more successful.
Okay.
And the search engines also see that now.
Okay. That's what I figured. Yeah.
And so so that visitor will begin, not only navigating between the pages,
Mm-hmm.
they're on your site longer.
Yeah, and that's what we want, right? We want them to be able to stay on our page, on each of our pages longer. Let me ask you this question too.
Sure.
Do you feel like it's beneficial to almost tell a story with your website? Where, in other words, you kind of come to the home page, you get a little bit of the story, get the intro of the story, and you get to the about page, you see more of the story, and then maybe, and so on and so forth. Like, does that help keep people on the site longer, or is it better to kind of give them what they need all on one page, maybe on the home page, versus having to create all these other pages for longer additional content?
The way I've always looked at a homepage was it is a portal into, or a dashboard, like a car, into your most important areas of your website. Sure, you're going to have your main navigation link bar, whether it's across the top, down the side, of your main pages. But you can think about it in terms of what do I really want to highlight, and kind of give a bird's eye view to the visitor and lead them into my site.
Okay.
So that's typically how I like to design a homepage, as a portal, as an overview of what we have, the most important things.
Great.
And then when they get to the sections such as about, I always try to keep it conventional, which means the about page should be the about page.
Okay.
And I don't ever personally try to get cute with anything or go against the conventional type thinking, because that confuses the user. Okay. And if we ever confuse a user, they tend to leave. Okay. And they won't come back.
That's a good one. So that's what you call bounce rate, right? When they kind of come onto your website, thought that they were looking for something, got confused, or felt like it wasn't what they were looking for, and they leave.
A bounce is, imagine you land on a website from somewhere. You land on a page on a particular website. You read a little bit and you leave that website. That's called a bounce. Okay? If they navigate to another page, it's no longer a bounce. Okay. They're clicking through.
And that's what we want, right?
That's what you want, right? Exactly. Okay. So when you have better lead-in graphics, better call to action buttons like click here for our video that explains such and such, those are the things that not only reduce your bounce rate, they also increase your click-throughs to other pages. Okay. Ultimately, hopefully you'll get a customer out of it.
Okay. That'll work, right? That's what we all want.
Yep.
All right, so do you have some free tips, tools, or things that maybe our audience would benefit from, that they can kind of maybe do on their own with their websites, or even at the very least maybe even use to compare their website with their competition and kind of see how they rank up? What are some things that you think that they'd be able to benefit from or use?
Well, that's a great question. I think it's good to always look at your competitors. But it's also at the same time good to keep in the back of your mind that my competitors may not be doing everything 100% the best way.
Sure.
So we don't necessarily want to take it for granted that whatever we see on their websites is done correct. Okay. They may be ranking because there's not a lot of competition in that field, not because they've done something great for SEO. Okay. You see what I mean? They may be ranking on keywords or using keywords that are not that applicable to their business and have low conversion. Okay. So it's good to analyze them, but what I like to do is basically go to YouTube, for example, and set up a channel. Okay. And just start basically creating a video and getting into a frequency of, starting to create your own videos. Okay. And just because what you're really doing is you're talking about your business or your organization to the public. Right. It's not something that a lot of people love to do. Sure. But from a theoretical standpoint and a practical standpoint, it's bringing you and them much closer because they can see and hear you now. Right. And it's not just a web page talking to them.
Now, video, I think, of now is a little easier to do versus what it was, what we were expecting. I think that, I should say this, I think the the expectation of video and quality of video isn't the same as what it used to be, 10 years ago versus what it is now.
Right.
I think we can, you can get away with doing video from a cell phone, like, we've got Periscope and, Facebook Live and things like that. So what you're saying is it's in coming from being, I should say this also, where our attention spans are starting to get lower and lower. Do you think that creating video content, and whether that's on YouTube or Facebook Live and Periscope and things like that, does that help your page ranking and your website visibility?
Well, the first thing that I would say is keep in mind that Google owns YouTube.
Right.
And they bought them, I would say 5 years ago, maybe.
Okay.
For a very good reason.
Sure.
And they index and look at the content that YouTube has. Video content is content.
Yeah.
And I would say, yes, keep an effort doing that.
Okay.
And build on that effort. Ultimately, what you're doing is you're giving away free information
Sure.
to the public, and it always helps.
Sure.
We don't want to give away trade secrets.
Sure.
But but really the web is built around information, hence the word information technology.
Mm-hmm.
And if we keep that in mind and we build good information, we build a usable website, we don't get cute with everything, but we really work hard and be humble, they'll come to us.
Okay.
And that's what, I think that's the winning strategy.
Okay.
All
right. Yeah. Fantastic. There a lot more that I definitely want to get into with, and especially maybe the next time I have you come by, we'll talk a little bit more about some common plugins, SEO plugins that are familiar with WordPress, especially with like Yoast and all-in-one SEO and things like that, and how those play a role, and maybe some good tips that people may need to know about that. And I've also heard in situations where using some of those plugins the wrong way could actually be a detriment to your website. So we definitely want to have you come back and talk about that as well.
Sure.
So thank you again for coming in. Definitely, this was great. I think there was a lot of information, a lot of things we talked about. But for people who are watching that want to get more information about you, or more information about this and about you, where can they find you?
www.palmettosoft.com. Palmetto like the tree, soft like software.
There you go. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. We'll see you again soon.